Hi everyone, welcome back. So this video is going to be about spiral dynamics. It's a new modality that I've learned through the YouTube channel Actualize, where Neo gives about 12 hours of his information about this. So like you know, I'm a very practical person and I like to summarize things up for you because I believe that this has so much knowledge and power, and I've been practicing it for about a month, 2 months now, and I've been seeing how it changes my perspective on things. Now, let me give you a short summary of what this modality is. It actually explains how humanity developed, how societies develop consciously, how human beings develop consciously, and it divides it into different colors. So segments of human beings consciously spiral up or spiral down according to a specific color. And it begins with colors that we won't even go into because you are so far more advanced than they are, but we're going to touch them. And in this video, we're going to talk about the color blue. Now, we're going to begin with blue because anything before blue is very basic. For example, tribes in Africa are still very basic, they're very small. But in order to become a society, you need to think in larger scales, right? You need to build roads. You need to have a society that is able to communicate one with the other. And throughout humanity, for example, we've had kings and kingdoms, and then we have people that try to take over the world and stuff like that. So we'll begin with the color blue, which most of you are not. But in order to understand the spiral dynamics modality, you need to go back to the basics because you know a lot of people who are still in the stage blue. Now, everything in this modality, in this system, builds up to the next system. In other words, if you're the color blue and you have certain difficulties, like you are going to find out in the next video or in the next couple of videos in this series, what color you actually are, you will have to face with some difficult truths about yourself that you haven't encountered so far. The system or the modality of spiral dynamics will reflect back to you the things that you understand and you think that you believe, and it will prepare you for the things that are coming next for you. In other words, we're not perfect. Obviously, we're moving along in our consciousness level, in our personal development. And when we find out what color we are, I'm also going to talk about the difficulties of that color and what the next color actually solves in these difficulties. Now, the beautiful thing about spiral dynamics is that it moves, every color moves between the individual level to the social level. So the color blue is still in social, and you will see this is going to be beautifully put into place when you see how we swindle ourselves between the individual and the social, and the individual again. But again, it takes into practice the individual and society as well. So it's on a much larger scale. Beginning with the color blue, and I've also made a list, I'll just give you the 2-second, we call it the elevator pitch. The color blue are people who are sometimes religious, that they need a structure, that they're very, very black and white thinkers, that they need rules, okay? And in addition to that, it's hard for them to accept other people. They have a system in place. They like things to not be changed. They might be religious, not spiritual. They might think that they're spiritual, but they are actually religious. They like ceremonies, and I'll go through the list, ideas and words, and I will explain as I go, okay? I just want to give Neo from Actualize, the YouTube channel, thanks a lot for putting this together for me. Of course, the color blue for him is 2.5-hour video, and I like to summarize it. So, blue values justice because justice goes hand in hand with God or some ridiculous system of thinking. Blue likes rules. Blue likes hierarchies. Blue needs social order and status quo. Blue loves traditions. Traditions, and it's always about my traditions. So if I'm in a specific country, it will be my country. America is the best because it's my country, okay? My family is the best because it's my city. You know, everything is about, and again, they will see in other people themselves. So they're not looking for society as a whole, but they're looking for their society. So if they're Christians, it's my religion. My religion is right, therefore all other religions are wrong. Same thing with Islam, same thing with Judaism, and many other religions that are more blue than green, and we will get to that later on, okay? Blue loves traditions, blue loves patriarchy. Blue loves any type of ceremony, okay? Any type of ceremony from our past comes from blue, okay? Blue, 30% of total influenced culture and social influence in the world is dominated by blue. So what you see on the television and what you see in news and most of the things that teach in school as well, they have 30% of this type of, I would say, historical thinking. Now, when you think about different countries, then blue is more Middle Eastern countries or Arab countries are much more in blue. So there's more religion, there's more traditions, there's more ceremonies, there's more holding on to faith and not wanting to let go and to become modern and change. And that creates a lot of issues as well, of course, that are solved by the future colors that I'm going to explain to you. Blue really hates skepticism. Why? Because it triggers them, because it goes against absolute truth. The absolute truth, for example, in religion has to be written in some book that blue likes to read, and blue likes to recite it, and blue likes to memorize it, and blue likes to go to a church or to a rabbi or to a priest and have them recite it for you because it's written down somewhere. There is a concept of black and white absolute truth for blue. There is no deviating from that path of absolute truth. And if you are, you might be a sinner and you go against the rules. Some of the older people you know, some from your family, some even your friends, you know, they might be blue. Most of them probably are in society right now. And again, I'll just tell you that I'm repeating and explaining to you what blue is. And whatever I'm talking about right now, if you are blue, and you most certainly are not blue if you're following me, okay? Blue is the basic. You need to understand blue because in the future, when we go into tier 2 colors, where you will recognize your future development, you will need to know how to face blue. Because until now, you have been judging blue for being blue. And you have seen blue in a different, you know, in a different perspective than you can see blue. And you can coexist quite easily when you go into the higher levels, okay, where you're becoming a little bit more green and yellow. And you will understand this. This is going to make perfect sense to you. Blue can be a good Christian. Blue is here to serve God or have a meaningful structure in society because blue is still society. Blue is still not individualized. He hasn't thought for himself. He likes others to think for him, to create a structure, a framework. Blue is a great employee, okay? He can be a really, really great employee, less of a manager type. Blue has a sense of morality, their own morality, their only morality and the only morality that is real. Blue will defend his culture. Blue will have a dynasty, so it's really important. It's all about the protection of my family, of my values. So it's either the Christian values or the values of me as a New Yorker, for example. It can be whatever, but it's still a structure. Blue likes conformity. Blue loves absolute truth. He loves it, you know. There's a sentence that he heard, and he heard it when he was 10 years old, and he memorized it, and he says it to everyone, and he repeats it quite a lot as well. It's like those people that repeat the same joke. Blue values family very highly, obedience, reverence, respect. Patriots are always blue. People who go to the military, they need to be bluish in some way because they don't need to think for themselves. Even when they go into the high ranks, they like the hierarchy, they like the pyramid, they like inequality, they like to think that they are smaller than, that there's something that is bigger, that they need external influence to help them make their own decisions. So they like rules. Patriots, the southern states in the States are usually much more blue. The inner of the states is much more blue. You go greenish a little bit to the outside. So California, sometimes Miami. Blue likes to defend. What are they defending? They're defending their way of life. They're defending their religion. They're defending their values. Okay? Strong moral code of conduct. Blue loves reputation, loves community, but their own community. Other communities, they won't love that much. Why? Because they are different. They don't have our moral values. They don't have our religion. Blue loves ritual and ceremony and obedience. Blue loves monarchy. Blue likes restraint of passion. In other words, blue is confined to a very structured sex life, for example. Why? Because you're not allowed to have too much. Blue, therefore, has a lot of repressed emotions. Blue cannot deal with others that are green or higher colors or less of colors. Blue will judge them for not being like blue. Blue generally likes to judge. It doesn't really like to understand how other people think or what other type of lives there are outside of their own structure and frame. Blue will consider other people as traitors if they don't have the same concepts as they do. Blue enforces the discipline, rules, and laws that he has upon others. So blue will find other blues, and together they will talk about others that are not blue in a sort of demeaning type of way. Blue comes after red, and red was actually selfish and more individual and without any order and chaotic, like some African tribes that some of us that are more green, and we'll get to that, they look at African tribes and say, oh, they're so connected with nature. Yes, but they fight with each other and they eat each other. Why? Because that king and that king want to remain king, and they can't find peace to come together. So green, that's a type of a greenish type of thought that we can change the world, we can bring everybody to be in a perspective of green. Blue needs a system. Blue doesn't have an open mind too much. Blue thinks in black and white. Blue is very highly opinionated. Some of you are probably going to think, oh my God, my dad is blue or my mom is blue, and you're probably right. The older generation is more blue than the younger generation, which tends to be more orange and green, which are the next coming colors. Blue has a very rigid outlook of spirituality, and blue moralizes. Now, again, this is all very short. It's a short video on this. I've read about it, I've bought the book, I've dived into it, but I know that today nobody has a lot of time. And I just wanted you to understand what blue is before we go into solving the difficulties that blue has. So we understand that people need to change all the time. That's the whole idea that we came here to be as a soul. So I wanted you to understand blue. The next color in line is orange. And remember what we said about the pendulum changing? So from social, where blue needed that structure, and he was a good servant of God, and he was going to church or to synagogue, and he had these rules and structures, from social, in orange, we're going to move into individual. And individual actually means that we're becoming independent. We're breaking away from the laws that restricted us and becoming free and abstract, which is more similar to what you are, probably the viewer. And in orange, we're beginning to think much more about ourselves, but in a very materialistic type of way. So orange is going to be CEOs, it's going to be business owners, it's going to be people who are thinking more about their success, more about themselves before others, before we're going to swindle back into green, which is again environmental and more like, probably like the viewer, more like you are. Anyway, this is an amazing, the spiral dynamics is an amazing modality. And when we're going to finish with green, I'm going to start talking to you about yellow. And yellow, I'm greenish yellow, and yellow, I can tell you quite a lot about it because I believe that for most people, yellow is where the aspiration of orange and green should be. And you can't skip colors. You have to go through the modality, you have to learn the lessons of each color. So you have to be social and break the rules, and then become successful for yourself, and then go back to social and environmental, and only then you can transcend those into a spiritual and more inspiring and self-actualization phase of your life, okay? And that's the idea. And again, in every color, we're going to see some words that reflect back that color to us. See, is this me? Is this not me? Have I learned the lessons? What are the difficulties of that color? What is the next color going to solve? And that's the idea here. So, stay tuned, I love you, and I will see you in the next video.